Hello and welcome to listen Daoist Nei Gong Narcissism on Steroids Podcast. So in this podcast we will be talking about narcissism and Daoist internal arts, the patterns behind the narcissistic personality style and the emotional and energetic models and patterns. We will be also looking, of course, the Daoist internal arts, the more esoteric aspect of the Daoist school, the process behind the internal arts, the Nei Gong, and systematic process from the Qi and how the system I studied is built, and the changes that are done by the teacher within the classical stuff, and the benefits and also the possible problematic aspect of the substance of the Qi, but also the structural problems that can arise and will arise with some people. We will be also looking, the different skills that can arise from the Daoist path or in general from esoteric path, from esoteric teachings, like the skills and siddhis, both what are well known, some teachers to have and to use, like transmission and various other skills that at least the close students are aware that the teacher have. Of course, this is from the teacher and from the school where I come from, but also we will be looking, siddhis and stuff, like what the teacher might have and what might be the problems, and of course the examples from the great masters and how they would have used such skills. So the darker side and the light and the beautiful side, we will be diving on both, at least a little bit, exploring and trying to understand, about the possible risks, but also the possible potential, depending on who is the person who got the skills and in which direction they choose to develop themselves, or perhaps in some cases it is not up to them, as such, and they are just evolving to the natural direction from their personality style towards whatever is kind of given to them. So some of the aspects will be going in quite esoteric direction, because that is the nature of the esoteric schools, So perhaps some of the episodes may not be that suitable for all, but that is the nature of these arts. And also we have to look, the typical cult leader, the history of the typical cult leader, but I will be taking the angle what it would be in esoteric school. Like we will look the typical history, like the childhood and what you can expect to find their youth and their relationship with the law and authority and this type of stuff, like the typical stuff related to the cults and cult leaders, but also, when the person actually has legit practice and, tradition behind him. So what does the cult look then? So we have examples from that too, although perhaps the mainstream cult documents and stuff may be from kind of that the whole system is more or less fraud. But there are also those that actually have extremely long history and kind of a legit practices, legit tradition within behind these. And then of course narcissists put their own twist, and it becomes a cult. And we will be looking how the practices, different aspects of the practices are actually used for the cult, like, brainwashing is kind of the term that some people don't like use, but I will use it now as I haven't really learned the better term. So kind of the various different aspects within the system where I come come from, how that type of the aspect, the creating confusion and like distracting the person see the reality as it is, and there are so many different layers. So I think we will have to start from the beginning, from the structure, go to the energetics, the chi substance, and then go to the energetics of transmissions and stuff. And then of course from there we will dive into, you know, the manipulation and domination systems, or how the narcissists have taken the art and taking the art to that direction, so to make extremely efficient way to manipulate and dominate people, and also take it to even more darker direction. So we will be also looking, you know, the differences of the pure path and you could say tantric path or the Nei Gong path. Here pure path means religious path, but we will also look the Daoist path, like let's say we have a art, like let's say we have a feng shui, like how it can be used and how tantric would use such an art. So we will be looking these sort of examples and try to understand, you know, what is really happening within these arts, and are they leading you to the direction of the truth, which is one of the things that they are marketed for their students, or is there perhaps growing possibility for delusion? I mean the opposition. Getting you deeper into Maya Samsara, delusion. So yeah, I suppose as this is the introduction for this podcast, some people might want to know a little bit about me. So I will be telling a little bit about the history and how I got into these arts. So 2004, I did like full change with my life, and I took the spiritual practices, you could say. I started to do breath work and yoga on my own, and kind of this led me to do also meditation. But it was only 2005 when I started to study Chinese medicine, and I got introduced to the Qigong, and I loaned this Qigong book from my acupuncture teacher. Medical Qigong. Is it just medical Qigong? Jerry Alan Johnson's book, like that thick black book, Medical Qigong, I think it was. So, or Daoist Medical Qigong. So I took some meditations there, and I took his 5 elemental Qigong practices from there and started to do those. And I really touched actually quite profound level with that. Is it 1 to 10 meditation? Can't remember, it's so long time. I didn't check this. So anyway, so yeah, I did touch quite profound stages actually from that. But of course I needed a teacher, so I started to look teacher. And in the city I lived, there wasn't any Qigong classes going on, so I kind of went to the weekend courses with a few people, but nothing really resonated, on that deeper level. So I kept on, doing my practice and going my path, and, wishing that I would find a Daoist teacher for the Qigong and for the meditation. But it was only like 2010 when I started to look from elsewhere, like from other countries. And I found the teacher with teacher's webpage with whom I ended up studying, and I started the studies with him 2011, and this was the Qigong instructor certificate program. And yeah, it was really good. Like I really enjoyed the practice, and next year I actually moved into the country where the teacher was living. So I didn't find the job, so I was living there like, was it 5 months, and then got back working and then back to traveling, and I really lived like 9-10 years like that, working in here where I live, and then traveling to the courses. We are talking about, weekend courses to. Yeah, the longest was the 5 months when I was living in that country, but usually like from weekend for a few weeks to month to 3 months, basically, something like that. So it was quite interesting and nice way to live. I'm truly grateful for every experience from that time. But of course, my humble apologies. From the second year when I moved into the country where my teacher lived, I did started to notice some, I suppose, alarming personality traits within my teacher. But not just in relationship with myself, but also in relationship with many, many people. But we all love the arts, love the path, and so forth. So and the teacher's skill level was extremely high. So we kind of took all sort of stuff from him. 2014, I was spy shirt, and it's kind of taking you deeper into the tradition. So you become a private person. Can you say that? Is that the correct word? Well, anyway, you kind of come as a close student of a teacher, and I was quite excited. And actually, it was quite funny that the introduction after I got ritualistically Paisha, that is the strongest transmission in that school, and aligns you with precision within that tradition, Longmenpai Dragon Gate sect. So the introduction after Baishat was welcome to cult. It was a little bit flattering, but comment, but I never really explored what it meant. I was just happy, to be in, and it was honor to be Baishat into the tradition. So I suppose it would be a good time to actually tell what I was studying in that school. My humble apologies, I kind of got to the timeline. So I was studying Qigong, Daoist Nei Gong, and I am instructor of that school. Well, probably not anymore instructor of that school, but I got the certificate from that, and also Tai Chi Guang Yang style level 1 and 2 from that school. I did study Bagua. That was one of my biggest passion, actually, to study Bagua Cheng style. Also, big passion of the practices for alchemical practice and meditation, especially towards the last 5 years or something, especially last 3 years in the school. And of course I had already studied Chinese medicine, but the Chinese medicine studies were all the time there for loose classes, like us for smaller groups when I was living in that same country. And of course on those longer summer retreats it was ongoing there, mainly with Tuina, but some other aspects also within the Chinese medicine. And then there was some other bits and pieces like introduction to Feng Shui. I suppose both like introductional level to the environmental stuff within your place, how you should kind of put everything in place so that it would be beneficial for your practice, for your path, for you, but also the environment and stuff. And also when we were on those summer retreats, a little bit about the energetics of the landscape and stuff, which really has opened a little bit more much later on, because I didn't have the energetic sensitivity. So later on he did also take us just taste basically to the more the energetic, like the, I suppose, Nei Gong aspect of the Feng Shui, which is actually the, how do you say, my humble apology, the word just comes like this, distortions of the, or manipulation of the energetics behind, that space behind, the reality, so that it's not anymore that you move this plant to that direction, but you actually bend the energetic qualities within that room to make it more beneficial. And of course, this will be the topic or similar topics in relationship with the transmission and the truth, and these two paths that are kind of the pure path and then the tantric path or the Nei Gong path, where you kind of actually go and manipulate the energetic properties, qualities behind the physicality, behind the reality. Like it will be something where I will be focusing and like perhaps awakening and giving a little bit different angle of looking of these things. It depends on what your angle has been these days. Have it been merely what your teacher offered you, or have you brought in the picture with what really is sensible and what really is happening? So anyway, yeah, there was also some other like shrine course, how to set up the shrine and how to activate that, and so forth. I got also introduced to the Buddhist Nei Gong lineage, which actually started the purification process, but I didn't understand the few first years what was really going on, so it was a little bit struggle with that until everything started to unfold and understanding, and I really started to get like much broader and bigger picture of everything that was happening, and that is kind of still there, that kind of broadening the view and understanding within what is really going on and what is said to be the case and what are the theories and so forth. I mean, it is complex. I don't have the full picture, not at all, but at least the picture is broadening. So 2020, the COVID year, I got stuck in the country where my teacher was living, and it was awesome. I mean, I could fully focus on practice. Like it was like a biggest blessings from the heavens for many of the internal art practitioners, so they could put 1 year or 2 years just fully to the practice, and it was the most beneficial, most beautiful 2 years within the practice, and I really took some huge leaps and bounces. So the beginning of the year, so 2020, so I was stuck in that country, focusing fully into the practice, like this time full-time, fully. And I started to be drawn towards the Hinduism a little bit, like just something rising from internally. And I was talking about that with the teacher, and he advised me to explore one of the main gods in Hinduism, Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva. And Shiva was the one that really kind of I felt drawn towards, and it was probably the best thing that happened to me within the whole path. So I did take, just randomly, not randomly, a mantra I really liked. I had heard it before. Mantra I really liked, extremely stimulating version, and I started to chant that in Sanskrit, and I started to get the understanding of like some very basic level of how the Sanskrit kind of the language, how the muscles inside the mouth are used and so forth, and the energetic properties from that mantra became much stronger. And it was very strong mantra, and it really took me extremely deep and profound stages, very close to something very, very profound, which I have touched quite a few times after that also. So after I talked with the teacher about what I had found in that mantra, he gave me Shiva mantra, and it was really different, very, very balancing, very, very harmonizing. But through that, I started to get that soul connection to the outer, from within those 5 elements which are in us, but also outside. So my heart really started to connect to that, and it really changed everything. So it took like few months perhaps, and I was already back in the country where I was living originally, and I moved to different city, and I really focused on started to focus on meditation, and the mantra was my main focus. But I also wanted to build a connection with the God, so I started to study the names of the Shiva, and my teacher had advised me to dive into the Hindu theories, especially to understand Atman and Brahma, and a few other pieces I think were there. But I found very good YouTube channel which I really enjoyed, and it really was extremely beneficial on that point, like very, very good. But I also looked like other kind of stuff in relationship with Shiva and the stories behind and so forth. But the names were the ones which I really did do a lot work, like contemplation and stuff. And of course, because of my foundation is in Daoism, I first connected perhaps more on the energetic level, but it started to also transform like the mental and emotional qualities, like aligning me better within the names of the Shiva and the qualities of the Shiva, which of course the main quality is the truth. So so it was very good combination together with the mantra I received from my teacher. So this propelled me to extremely deep process 2021, and I'm kind of still in that, although there has been few hiccups, I suppose you could say, within the path, which is the reason I am doing this podcast. So I was already out from school, but I had got into this profound process which was unfolding and is still unfolding. And I read an article about the narcissism, and suddenly, like, everything I had witnessed in the school and within the teacher made sense. Everything were just like, okay, now I understand. Although it wasn't quite that simple, like with some other people understanding, the narcissistic personality style was like so easy, because, oh wow, now it makes sense, full sense, I understand, this is quite fascinating, and a huge healing process started. But I definitely struggled a lot with the teacher I was studying, because I don't know, it was, I suppose I had invested so much time and money, and although I had walked away, it was still, I don't know, I think I had still in that point a shame, so much shame in relationship to everything that had been happening within that school. And you will understand more if you don't understand in this point, the narcissistic personality style and what kind of emotional models it kind of grinds into you and awakens or enhances and so forth. So it took 2-3 months probably that I actually started to little bit talk about this with a close friend of mine, which was also from the school but had left, and she was fully in line that he is a narcissist and quite bad one. Of course, this was nothing compared what opened a later day of his true nature and characteristics, or when the narcissistic personality shifts towards the psychopathy. I really had not seen anything compared what I have seen these days. So it was 2022, towards the end of the year. halfway of December. Probably something like that when I wrote an email to the teacher. And first email was all about love and my realization of love. And I had very naive, beautiful, but very naive vision in relationship with this world and how we could a little bit perhaps benefit as not just as us as a Daoist practitioners, but to bring unification, harmonization, and support network between all religions. So I had quite a naive vision, but of course I had also, understanding of the narcissistic personality style of my teacher. So the second email was in relationship with that. So I was kind of hoping. I suppose I did write it in a quite bold manner. I did write it in bold manner because I wasn't his student anymore. I was out from school. I had been out from school, but I thought we are friends. So I thought I can talk straight. I mean, Finnish people are very, very straight and honest and truthful. So I kind of took from that angle. But of course, perhaps British people might, and for narcissistic anyway, will take that that's quite rude probably. But it was quite bold because I did say that you cannot treat people like that, and you have to be better with your other students, and so forth. And after this email started to happen, and anybody who knows how the transmission really works behind the scenes, the senior students, like the Paisho students, the close students. I mean, there is always transmission happening from the teacher to these students. This was still going on to me as a helpful way. Even when I had stepped out from the school, it was very easy. You can feel the buzz so easily when you have the energetic sensitivity. You know when the transmission is coming. It's not a brain. Anybody after 2-3 years of dedicated training will feel the transmission, and especially the more you have been getting those strong transmissions, mind seal and Paisho and so forth, and other stronger practices and stuff. I mean, it will enhance a lot of the energetic sensitivity. But this time it started to be something very, very different, something extremely dark, and like I said, all of these unfolding from the second email is the reason for this podcast. So I suppose you could say I have fairly good understanding how that teacher works, and it is fully in line with the narcissistic personality, and when you combine the skills that he has. So the model should work with each and every other Daoist or Nei Gong practitioner if they have narcissistic personality and something like similar skills than the teacher that I studied has. And of course, I do believe that the similar model is in all esoteric schools. Of course, somebody will have to translate the language and the practices and whatnot to match their specific, like Buddhist branch and Hindu branch and so forth. But this could be, and I hope it will be, extremely useful tool, not just for the people that are looking to dive in deep to these esoteric schools, but also to the people, of course, who are already in these type of schools, but also the teachers, so they can understand and educate themselves. If they spot narcissistic personality style traits, is it really wise to take them to the highest peak, because the dangers are catastrophical, possibly to the tradition. When these go out, I hope it won't be that way, but there will be always that sort of a wave too, which is a shame, because not all Daoist masters, not all of them are narcissists. It's like 10 to 20% of the people are narcissistic. Like if we are talking about 10%, we are really talking about, that difficult end of the narcissism. So every So if you have 100 people, 10 of them might have quite problematic narcissistic traits. And if you have, a tradition, whatever tradition it is a big possibility that there will be actually even way higher percentage of the narcissistic people or sociopaths, or probably narcissistic and psychopaths. That is how, you look whatever field the top people, they do tend to get there and want that place, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to get there also. So there is that risk, and it is actually in line also with the stories my teacher shared about his teachers. I think he had met hundreds of people, hundreds of masters, although perhaps he wouldn't call all of them masters. But I think I have heard him talk to upright person. One is dead, and one he probably is still training, unless something has come between those. So yeah, I think hopefully there is enough introduction to understand what this podcast will be about, and hopefully it will be beneficial in many ways. Perhaps some of the angles are different. It is always good to broaden the picture. If you have not studied narcissism, this will give some models, but please go and study with professionals and professors who have studied and spent their lives to understand and teach about the narcissistic personality style. And also, if you are interested in Daoism or Chinese medicine and other, this type of theories and knowledge, please go and study with some high-level practitioner or teacher or master who can offer you that. I am here to basically fill the gap from the, narcissism in normal world and what it is in esoteric schools. So thank you for your time, and welcome to listen Daoist Nei Gong Narcissism on Steroids Podcast.